Thank you. Well, again, welcome to everyone, and a big thanks. We're near the end of this journey. It's been just an amazing time for me personally, and Alan and I talk about this often. What a pleasure it's been to work with each one of you on the task force, and the staff has been nothing short of amazing to work with. Just an incredible group of people that are dedicated to serving our community. So, again, welcome to what is scheduled to be our final meeting. Alan?
Thank you. Ditto to those comments. And we have before us the adoption of the report such that we can now move it forward to the County Commission. There will be a meeting on December the 17th, which I believe you've all been invited to, where we will present it at a work session, I believe, Mayor, and be soliciting endorsement from them. But before we go through that, we have first public comment, and then the mayor may want to say something after that. Is there any public comment?
Any names?
Thank you. Okay, we have Scott Billery or Billy.
I'm very interested in hearing about.
Can you go up to the mic, the podium, please?
Introduce yourself and give us your address, just for the record.
I see a couple of people snickering already. Sure. Good to see y'all. My name is Pastor Scott Ballou. I'm the founder of Matthew's Hope, a homeless outreach in West Orange County. Thank you for your time. I am located at 611 Business Park Boulevard in Winter Garden. We're a nonprofit that's been out there for about 10 years now. A lot of you aren't familiar with this because we don't take any government funding. My question, as I look through, and the first question I have, and I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say because we're seeing this every day. We're up 43% this year in the number of homeless men, women, and children we're serving. And many of them are the working homeless, and many of them are the folks that y'all are going to be talking about how to house, I think. The one thing that blew me away right off the bat is anybody on the task force actually working with the homeless day to day? One?
So there are a number of people involved in organizations that support homeless programs.
No, I get it. I know who's on the list. I just wanted to ask that question because I think it's very important that we get in the trenches if we're going to try to figure out how to help people. And we got to do it different than we have. I'm still looking forward to Mayor. I'm looking forward to you coming out. We haven't talked to you since before the election. But we've got something we want to share, and we think there's something that needs to be done in our community that's being different than what we're doing today. I'm not here to cause problems or to scold anybody, but I got to tell you, when I saw the task force, with all due respect, with all your credentials, it really bothered me that not one homeless person, not one homeless single mother that's going to school and working full-time that needs a home that can't get one in Orange County through Housing First. And not one homeless organization was involved. And so I'm looking forward. I may have further comment, but I have a comment that I wanted to share with you up front because for this to happen 4 times, I may not be the right guy because I don't take government funding, but not that we don't have anything to say. Because we're here serving the people. And when you grow 43% in one single year, when the Sentinel announced just a few months ago that we were down 11%, how about we tell the public the truth and tell them how housing in hotels a couple of years ago wasn't considered stable housing, but it is now. I mean, we can go on, but the public needs to be aware there's a whole hell of a lot more going on here than what meets the eye. And we got to be just straightforward, and you can't hit the problem face on if you're not going to be with the people in the trenches. You got to get with the people in the trenches. If you're not going to do that, you will be having task force after task force, meeting after meeting, study after study, and 10 years from now, we'll be talking about the same problem just like we were 10 years ago. And some of y'all know me, and you know that's the truth. And it's getting old. At some point, somebody, Republican, Democrat, Independent, I could give a rat's who it is, somebody's got to do differently than we've done before. And one more study is not going to change it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Let me respond to some of his comments here. First off, all of these meetings have been open to the public, where anyone that wanted to give input would have had the opportunity. And also, one of the members that was on this task force was homeless at one point, and lived through that experience and was able to get through the experience, get into college, and this past May, I'm happy to say, she graduated from the Florida A&M College of Law. So there were different perspectives, and I think you may have missed the point that many of the individuals on this task force do provide services and have provided services historically to different components of the community that have experienced the challenges that we have. So I hope you seized the opportunity during the nearly 7 months that this task force operated to attend some of the meetings and give your input as well. It's well received. So if you, every one of these meetings, they were either televised, they were advertised, they were open to the public, and I hope you had the opportunity at some point during those 7 months to come in and give your testimony. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, we have time allotted for you to share any other thoughts about the task force.
Let me say to all of the task force members, you have done extraordinary work, and not one of you, was getting paid by Orange County to do the work that you have done. You have attended the various committee meetings. You have spent a lot of time in conversation and dialogue with various people within our community. And really on behalf of all of our residents of Orange County and our staff, we do appreciate the volunteer work that you have done. This is serious work. The report that is being produced is really just the beginning. We will take the report and then ensure that we put it into action. It will not be a document that will sit on a shelf somewhere and collect dust. It will be a living document that we will use as a guideline as we go forward to do the serious work of addressing the housing crisis that we have here within this community. So again, thank you all on behalf of the Board of County Commission as well. We will make the presentation to the board will accept it. Some of the recommendations obviously in this report comes with some monetary commitments. I believe that the Board of County Commission will ultimately see fit that which is within the scope of Orange County. I'm sure they will provide appropriate funding from the county, but this cannot be a conversation just about the public sector response to this. We will not be as effective as we can be without the collaboration with the private sector. And many of you come from the private sector. Some of you work within the nonprofit space or the philanthropic space. We have to engage. It is certainly my intention to engage our business community in order to do some of the things when we talk about different trust funds or what have you that will be set up, or different new styles of maybe financing for some of the solutions. It will take the entire community to put money into this effort. And so we have some ideas about that, but we didn't want to put the cart before the horse before we receive your report. So I promise you that we will follow up on it. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, sir. We have one action item before we get into the report and finalization and adoption, hopefully, and that's the approval of the minutes from our last meeting of October 4th. They were circulated. Do I hear a motion that we accept the minutes? Motion, a second? Second. Any discussion? Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay.
Okay. Next thing, I think this, the staff has a presentation. We're going to walk through the highlights of the action plan. So if you can just watch the monitor, I think they will click through it. The big takeaway from this, if you've read through it, is the fact that this plan will allow us over an estimated 10-year period to add an incremental 30,000 housing units to our region, to our county. 30,000 additional housing units, incremental units that are not forecasted, not projected at the present time. So as you look through these bullet points and key takeaways, it's the result of this task force and these subcommittees that have put a tremendous amount of work into identifying a number of little things that add up to a big number. In spite of that big number at 30,000 incremental units, I think we all realize through this process that there's still work to be done. And the fact that, as the mayor said, we've put this report together, there's still work to be done in terms of educating our community, our coworkers, our companies, to make sure everyone understands that it's not a task force challenge or a task force problem. This is our community's challenge, and it's up to the community to solve it. So we can keep going through these slides. And in front of you, everyone should have a copy, a draft of the final report. What I would ask is, as we go through these slides, as we get to the end, is for comments, questions from the task force that may be things you've noticed, we want to make any tweaks. Staff is planning to take notes from today and over the next couple of weeks, finalize this in formatting and any minor editorial changes in the report, and get it back to the community and share it with our entire community so everyone understands that we all have a part in addressing this challenge.
And Terry, we've met several times with the chairs of your task force, and I know they and at least the two of us have made edits to this, and this is what we are asking at the right time here today for a motion to adopt the report. There is still a little bit of time between now and when it will be cast in stone and printed and will be presented to the board, as I said, on the 17th of December. So, we're not beyond having typos and other things. We've all read it and read it and read it. But we're open to today and I think you've gotten a lot of this along the way to see if you have any questions or comments.
So this is open floor for the task force, and don't be shy.
I think if you go back to the prior slide, please. If you look at the bottom, the mayor mentioned resources, and there's detail about this in the plan, but there's a pretty significant amount of money being proposed to be contributed to this cause, which of course takes the board's full support, but the last line item is a big one, and there's detail about where it's going to be allocated towards. But I can tell you, I think most people here who've been around, I think it's safe to say I don't think we've ever had anyone to step up, and as the mayor has done, and make, I think it's pretty bold request to solve it with not just your words, but with some money. So.
Any comments from the subcommittee chairs? You guys did such an amazing job. And I've never known Frankie to not have something to say. Any comments from anyone? Questions?
Discussion on the entire
Yes.
proposal?
Yes,
Discussion on the entire proposal?
correct.
Okay. All right, so first let me say, Mayor, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, chairs, for your leadership. Thank you, task force, for all the work that you guys put into this. It was a great deal of work, right along with you guys. Speaking to the mic. Yeah, my bad. So just quick statement. So it's been a privilege to serve on the task force and represent the concerns of thousands of SEIU members that live in Orange County. I also want to express gratitude again to the task force members for working to tackle housing and as a priority. There are two concerns that I would like to express. First is on process. The work of the task force was extended to work on the best solutions to present and report on today. However, there hasn't been any meetings on substantive communications with task force members since the last meeting on October 4th. On that day, we were told that the efforts would be made to get meetings together, or that we would have a chance to review the recommendations before being submitted. Today, all of us were emailed a draft to be released to press by 2 p.m. Secondly, and again, this could be tied to the fact that no discussions were had with the task force members since October 4th, but the report continues to focus on the physical construction of housing and what the neighborhoods would look like. We are missing the human component to the self-made affordable housing crisis that our members and residents of Orange County are facing. As a result, the Service Employees International Union formally requests that we have an opportunity to meet with the mayor, to meet with the mayor again and decide on how we add a human element to the report, or that we have an opportunity to meet with you before this is brought to the county commission to address the problem. I want to express again my appreciation for the time and on the work the entire task force and staff has done. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. It's great. Any additional comments, questions, thoughts?
Catherine McManus, Habitat for Humanity, if I might. I want to say to the task force, of course, the mayor and our two co-chairs, I thought while we did not have a significant amount of time to review the final draft, the inclusion of the task force, in my opinion, was quite good. I want to commend the staff of Orange County because ultimately you had to take every single one of our recommendations, suggestions, and crazy ideas and try and put it together. And to that I say kudos, because I do think that this draft and action plan does pull all of those things together. As far as the human element, because I agree with you, I don't know that I can agree that that was part of what this task force was brought together to do. It is very important, but we were here specifically to talk about housing, and I feel that we have done so. So thank you for this, and I look forward to being part of the solution of how we can go and make this actually an actionable plan.
Thank you.
I think, Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, co-chairs, fellow members. It has been an honor to serve on this task force and appreciate the opportunity to do that. I want to say I appreciate the perspective from the start in that what we've been attempting to do is to make it possible to remove regulatory barriers to increase the amount of housing that's been available, and also to leverage, as the mayor referenced, to leverage private investment dollars, public investment, and to leverage private investment dollars. And I think what you can see from the recommendations in the report itself is that it does just that in bringing forth the recommendations which do leverage. You can see a significant increase recommended in the local investment. The commitment is that Orange County residents and Orange County government and people investing in Orange County are going to take it on themselves to help their fellow residents, and I think that is extremely important and it's positive. But it is a significant local investment. So if you leverage this investment a little under, to create 30,000 units, that's a little under $6,000 per unit, and to get people access to attainable housing, I think that's a pretty good return on investment. So I just wanted to share that and point those things out.
Thank you.
I might also refer to page 14 of the action plan, and there's a page 15, which most of you have not seen because we didn't see it until recently. But the last paragraph on page 14, they have included something that the mayor is referencing, and we've talked about from the beginning that for the many hundreds of hours that have been spent, we really want to see that this is implemented and it's taking hold. We're hopeful that the numbers that we have, may be conservative, because I'm an optimist. versus aggressive. But the last one says that there are going to be measures and outcomes on each of the action items so that we will be able to continue to keep an eye on what's happening, including the very last sentence, which government loves to hear, but we're actually we're recommending additional staff be allocated to this, to the implementation of the plan. So I feel good because I know the mayor's taken this as a personal effort that we will see this happen. And out of this, it doesn't mean there are not other things that can be added along the way from either the private sector or otherwise. But this now has gone from being just something that everybody talks about as being a problem to something where we're making a huge attempt to solve parts of it, including, as you see, the difference between just affordable housing and attainable housing, which is they're equal issues to deal with. Any other comments? We're welcome to, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Lynette Fields. I also want to say thank you to Mayor Demings and to the task force for all the good work. And I came in because I do work on the front lines, and I came in rather skeptical about what we could do because I've seen the work of task force before, and I've been very pleased with the recommendations that we're making for moving forward. However, as a representative of District 1, I feel like before I can go home, I at least need to say that, and having served on the Faith Committee of the Commission on Homelessness previously, that if we do all of this, we're just barely catching up with our low housing stock and our housing crisis. And having been reported earlier to the task force, I live in a district that has the highest number of building permits being issued, so we know it's a future concern in the southwest part of our county. And because we have an urgency of housing, we needed to prioritize. And the priorities mean the building is happening along already existing transportation routes and in places where we have economic centers, which makes perfect sense. But it does leave out District 1 for this by 2030 plan for the most part. So I just, as we wrap up this work, I hope, and Alan, thank you for sharing that we can add more. I hope as we implement this, we can have our eyes on the future pretty quickly so that we can prevent future problems as we live in a very, very fast-growing part of the country.
Thank you.
Frankie?
I just want to, I think it's important just to clarify to your point about District 1. I think if you look at the accessibility model that was developed, I think in terms of our subcommittee, what we were focusing on is a prioritization recommendation to the county. Limited resources are available, so the thought process was those areas that would be the quickest turnaround time where we could get in, build, and make units available would be the priority listing. I don't want anyone to think that incentives and encouragement for housing development is going to stay within only the transportation and employment corridors. That certainly was not our intent. It was a way to prioritize the limited resources. The thought process was, again, a prioritization, but incentivizing construction of housing regardless of the price level is to continue throughout the county where it makes the most sense. So I didn't simply, and I understand District 1 is not necessarily a transit accessible area for everyone, obviously, but there is still housing needs. So the thought process was just prioritizing resources, but incentives would still be able to be used in the district.
Thank you. In fact, I had a call from someone who was concerned that the conversation in the report about pilot projects and looking outside of the box, we're not going to be solely focused in the target areas. And it says in here somewhere that it's not. We're going to encourage there to be innovation and cooperation in every part of Orange County that we can find. So.
Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Well, I know after this meeting, we're going to step out in the hall, and the media here wants to get some thoughts and comments from the mayor, and we'll have a press event outside in the hall. But just in closing, as I've gone through this journey on housing over the last few years and on this task force, 3 words stood out to me over this task force journey, and it was innovation, incentives, and inclusiveness. And as we, leave this phase of the journey of housing, all of us will stay involved some way or the other, and the mayor will lead our county through it. And I hope that you, as the mayor asks us and others to get involved in other projects, don't hesitate to get involved and get others involved, because I think the challenges we face are so huge that it requires a lot of people to come to the table. And if I'm proud of one thing, is that this group of people stuck with one process from the beginning to the end. We stuck and we believed in the process, and the process brought us to this point of delivering a proposal or plan to our mayor that can add 30,000 incremental housing units over the next 10 years. That's it. So, Alan?
And I just would also close by, the action plan is got a lot of stuff in it. We've worked to try to keep it both a little bit simpler so that people will read as much or more. There is an executive summary that we think hits the high points. There's also a kind of a takeaway sheet. You've got a 2-sided, it's in Spanish and English, summary. And it would be amiss if we didn't follow through, which we will, on the part of this about the public input. There was a lot of discussion in that subcommittee about how we can get out into the public, and that could create other opportunities, but at least so the public knows what's trying to be accomplished to benefit all segments of Orange County, at least the workforce housing and the people who need low income or affordable housing. So I'll remind you again, the mayor would like on December the 17th at 9 a.m. if you would be able to attend and be in the audience as backup for the presentation that's going to be made. I think Terry and I are going to open and close, but I think the committee chairs, they've had representatives on the committee, of course, but now it's time to take it and do something with it. And then after that, you have timelines on each of these items. We've continually harassed staff to try to get the timeline shortened. And I think they'll do their best to do that, considering that a lot of these things have different kind of components involved. But so I think, I guess we can ask if there are any other comments to finish it. If any of the staff want to say anything, or the mayor, then we can.
I will just say this to you, that going into this, I had no illusions or delusions about how successful we would be, because this is a complex issue that's not unique to Orange County. Every major metropolitan community across America has this challenge. I was in London last week. London, England has similar challenges. But what we wanted to do, at least for me, my vision for you all was to be very intentional and focused about moving the needle to reducing the number of people in this community who are living chronically rent-stressed or homeless. When you think about that goal, that's a big goal, that there's probably no silver bullet that could be done to easily rectify that. As I see the housing challenges, they're interrelated with some of the transportation challenges that we have. It's interrelated with some of the other social challenges that we have as a community. So we could not adequately address housing without addressing all of those other issues. So this, when we talk about whether it addresses the human element or not, it will address the human element because, you know, we're talking about people in housing, so there's no way around that. When we talk about the goal to increase broad-based prosperity for our entire region, that's a whole nother issue. But concurrent to what we have been doing here, we have been very active with business development and focusing on our education and some of the healthcare needs and all of those other things simultaneous to what we're doing here. What I would say to all of you or ask you is that at some point there will be a need for, if you all are willing, for this body to come back together and kind of review what we're doing. See, there will be some action things that will take place, and it starts with the Board of County Commission, and then there will be a springboard of other activities after that. The document that has been produced is simply a guide that we can refer to keep ourselves honest in the process about what you all said needed to be done. It may not be perfect, but it's a good start to a collaborative effort for our entire community to come together to try to look for some meaningful solutions to this challenge. So what I will suggest to you is to remain encouraged that your work was not in vain, that it was meaningful. I can assure you that our staff here within Orange County, they've been living, this experience. They're very committed to doing what they can do to kind of now leverage that. We want to work with all of our community partners, the unions, the employers, and others. And in short order, you will see some other things that will happen because of this work, where people and the corporate community will come together and help support this. But we needed that blueprint, and that's what you provided, is the blueprint to help us move forward in a very specific way and manner. So I say that to you, to the extent that I can, stay engaged with you, try to be open to our community. And if you can't get me, we got a great staff as we move forward. So again, thank you again for your efforts.
So on behalf of the entire task force, we again present to you our 10-year action plan, and we've done our job and we're moving on.
So I think we would like a motion to adopt the plan. And again, if you see things in it that you think are either typos or egregious or something, you do have probably a week or so to comment on it, so that this is not that the door's not shut totally today. But we would like at least the base work, the framework of the plan to be adopted as a recommending for this task force to take this to the Board of County Commissioners for their review and approval. So do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, so move the adoption of the plan and submission of this task force recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Second? Okay, any discussion? Last chance. This might be our shortest meeting. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. And I'll also say thank the staff again. Even though we've done it before, I know a number of them from the transition team and other places. And they do have another job, each of them, and they have spent countless hours on this, and they've done a great job to help pull this all together. You have a picture.
We're going to celebrate with a quick photo, so it's going to be very, very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to stand back behind this first table. Our chairs and the mayor back to the table. And then these two tables are going to go on the dais. And we'll do a group photo. Let's see how fast we can do it.